Good morning. Welcome back to Expat Insights. I'm your host Raju Mandhyan, and we are on the subject matter of Philippines property boom. And we just heard from Jim Donald, who has been a resident of the Philippines for the last 10 years, and he is doing good in the Philippines, selling and, of course, moving around old, new and used property. Now, we have a lady who's a learning director of Vista Land, which is from the Vista group of companies, and she's also been in the industry for several years, and she will give us the Filipino perspective on Philippines property boom. So let's welcome Miss Ivy Villanueva, the learning director of Vista Land. Welcome to Expat Insights.
Thank you, Raju. Thank you for having me here.
So tell me how long, first tell us about the Vista Land thing.
Oh.
I mean, tell us about the company.
Right. Vista Land actually is the largest home builder in the country.
Yeah.
And we have four main brands. That's Brittany, who takes care of the high-end market. And then we have also Crown Asia, who is actually in the middle market. And Camellia, which is the affordable market. All of these three brands are actually into the horizontal development, meaning house and lot, or lots only.
Wow.
And then we have Vista Residences, who takes care now of all the condominium properties, so whether mid-rise and high-rise.
Wow.
Now, initially, when we started off, actually it used to be Camellia and Palmera homes back in the 70s, I think. It was like for 35 years.
Oh,
now,
it's been that long, huh?
yes,
Yeah.
and however, in 2007, it was now renamed as Vista Land, and that's when we started to go into the security. We came out as Vista Land. Vista Residences, though, just came out in 2008. Right. So now that, we are nationwide. In fact, so from Metro Manila down to the Mega Manila, and now, of course, in the provinces, we're all over. Mostly in the provinces, we're known as Camellia homes.
Yeah, you know, Cagayan de Oro.
Cagayan de Oro, right. In fact, right now, today,
Yeah.
we are launching our mid-rise in the provinces in Davao.
Wow.
So that's
How
something.
huge is the whole group?
Well,
how many units are we looking at? The tiny ones and the large ones, thousands?
Let's just put it this way. We're
Yeah.
present in all 31 cities. And,
I didn't even know there were 31 cities in the Philippines. I thought
but
there
there's
was only
more.
two, Manila and Cebu. Okay.
Manila and Cebu. All right.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cities in the Philippines. So
Yeah.
we're present in the majority area. In fact, just last year, 2012, Camellia brand has been awarded as the most trusted brand in the builder. So this gives you an idea that we are spread all over the Philippines. And in fact, we're still going into the small towns and small cities because the vision of the organization is to provide a home for every
So
Filipino
it's mostly
family.
residential, or are you also building commercial? Are you doing bridges,
Well,
infrastructures? No, I'm just asking.
Well, no, we're getting into that. In fact, we have a new group that was formed just about, I think, 2 years ago. It's called Vista Land Commercial Group. They're now into the commercial area. And the vision really of Vista Land is to get also into the other real estate. Of course, there are already talks about resorts and other areas. In fact, we also have office buildings, but there's a special group that's handling
What
that.
I meant is development rather than just properties and stuff, you know, as in
Yes.
national development. Is Vista involved in that?
Yeah, we have projects that are involving or is involved with the government projects, and of course, as everybody knows, Vista Land is owned by the former Senator Manny Villar, and the president right now is actually the son, Paula Villar. And there's of course a lot of works now that are projects that are in the pipeline, working with the government and putting up a lot of infrastructure. Of course, right now there are like 3 cities that we have developed. One is called Evia. This was the latest launch we had. It's in the Anghari. The infrastructure around that city has been well developed.
Anghari is a city?
In Cavite.
Okay,
It's within Cavite.
Okay.
It's called Evia City. And actually, we just opened up we're actually building a road that's going to hit directly to the C5. So there's going to be better access in that area. The other one is called Lakefront. This is about in Sucat.
I know that one.
You're
Right,
familiar
right.
with
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
you've been there.
Yeah. That's by the Posadas subdivision before. And it looks out at Laguna de Bay,
Laguna
right?
de Bay, that's right. In front of, along the highway, there's a commercial area that's actually part of Vista Land. It's called the Wharf. And there's a lot of events happening there right now.
Good for
and
you.
there's a lot of activities there. And the third city would be in Santa Elena, or somewhere in Laguna already, Tagaytay, that side. So it's quite around.
So tell me, Ivy, my previous guest, Jim Donald, which you
Yes.
saw and you watched the
heard,
show,
yes.
no? And he's all gung-ho about Philippines property development, no? And he especially talked about the last 10 years. No?
Right.
So what is your perspective? What's your view on how the property is developed and the change in the last 10 years?
Well, actually, Jim was correct, no? Highlighting, taking it off from the financial crisis, or the Asian crisis, rather.
97.
That's right. But you
Yeah.
see, it's not just the last 10 years, but actually the last 20 years. And I think the industry has learned its lesson from that devastating
crisis.
event,
Yeah.
right?
I remember that time Skyway was in the middle of construction and it was stopped.
That's
Fort
right.
Bonifacio, some of the projects
Dead.
were built up and,
And
they
then
stopped.
stop. That's right. But now take a look at all the skyways. Practically, we're a nation of all the skyways already around
I know.
Manila.
Amazing, isn't it?
Very
How
amazing.
fast it went up, yeah.
The four right now, left and right, and you cannot just imagine that all the roads are really with a lot of infrastructure, and they keep on building
In
and
Fort?
building. And
In
oh
Fort?
yeah, have you been there lately?
Yeah, I drove through.
Right.
But there was a little article there that claimed that it's becoming overcrowded.
Well,
And the chances are that once it fully gets settled in, it won't look as pretty as it did or does right now. I mean, that's about Fort, no? Is that what's...
well, I beg to disagree. I think they have a very good urban planning there. Especially a lot of developers are coming into play. And, now that, there were a lot of talks, of course, like SM came around, this SM Aura is there, and then the Taguig area. And there's a lot of just infrastructure coming in. But this is a combination of not residential alone, but also the commercial and even offices. If you notice, all the BPOs are starting to shift to Global City, and they're starting to put up a lot of big offices there because they require a lot of spaces. And there's a lot of spaces in the fort.
I hear the BPOs are also going to Leyte.
Oh,
Did you hear
yes, in the
about that?
provinces.
Yeah, they're going
in fact,
to the small cities.
they've moved into Laguna, and so there's a lot of infrastructure now in Laguna. A lot of businesses are moving to the south, and then now they're moving into the provinces also because the talents are there. And as you well know, Philippines now is it's now ahead of India in terms of the BPO or the outsourcing. So that it generates a lot of jobs in the Philippines. So a lot of jobs translate to a lot of income, and if an individual has a disposable income, there's a lot of buyers for properties.
Tell me two things. Number one, Jim mentioned about the agents and the little control on the agents because there were so many numerous agents before, and I hear that you just can't get certified to be a real estate professional nowadays. You have to go get a degree. What is the story behind that?
Well, the government's trying to provide professionalism.
Right, yeah.
If you would recall back then, there was anybody can actually sell real estate.
Yeah, it was a bit
it's
scary.
just like
his perspective was right that they would just say everybody wants to do something but not serve you. Yeah.
That's right. And so there was a regulation, and PRC came into play, and true enough, and that's the reason why I'm also in Vista Land now. We're training everyone. For you to become a registered seller, you have, before you can be licensed only by the CREBA and the boards of real estate sellers, but now it should be PRC. This is really good.
Philippines
Regulatory Commission.
Okay,
You have to get that license, so now you have your own ID. And then one broker should be can only handle like, as Jim said, 20 agents. Well, this is fine. It doesn't mean that the selling doesn't stop because there are also sub-sellers or the referrers, we call it in the industry. So they can still refer. However, what gives this as a good point is that the sellers can now actually they're more professional in explaining it to you. This coincides also with what the government wants. In fact, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is now working on, it's in the papers last week, I think. They're working on the price index of realty properties because they're
creating a price index.
Yes, they're starting like how the consumer index is.
I thought there was one already, no?
Well, not yet. They're still gathering all the data, and they're hopefully, well, they said they're hoping that by the year end they would be able to gather all the data necessary for them to publish the price index, right?
So what does your job entail? You are in the midst of this gold rush, no?
Right.
So to say. So what do? Are you an agent, or you are an agent's agent, or are you a teacher to agent?
I'm more of the coach of all the sellers, and even from the developer side. I hold now I had a training company, and this one is actually teaching all of the individuals to become professional in terms of how they do and deal with real estate sellers and buyers.
So are they following any government certified curriculum, or are you still creating your own?
In terms of the government, we're aligning our projects with what the government wants, but we're not yet the licensed provider for learning by the government. However, in terms of selling skills and in terms of the attitudinal and the habits
the surveys,
formation,
the ethics,
right. Then we also provide consulting services for the developers. So organizationally, let's say they wanted to go into customer service, this is where we come in also and help them form that kind of customer service, so that when an expat like you who'd like to buy a house...
I'm not an expat anymore, you know.
You're now really certified Filipino.
From certain profiles, I don't even look like an expat, no?
You know, you're right. You now more look like a Tisoy Pinoy.
Tisoy Pinoy.
And so when you come into the office, we provide you very good customer service. And hopefully we won't be part of the statistic that Jim was telling about scary things about documentation after the selling and all that stuff.
So what keeps you in the profession? What keeps you driven in the profession, in the industry? What part? Is it the money? Is it the growth? Or
it's the challenge, actually. If you notice, before... this is a return of the comeback for me in real estate. But before this, I was in the bank. So most of my career life was in the financing industry. But then when I went back to the housing industry, I was shocked because 20 years ago, it wasn't like this.
It was quiet
and very slow. But now you can see it rapidly. All the buildings are coming out. And it's not just the housing. It's also the commercial developments, even the resort developments.
There was, Jim probably, I don't know, he probably remember, he wasn't here that time. I think in the early 90s when we were building so much, also pre-Asian crisis. Were you still active in the industry that time? Because they were claiming it's a boom time now. And then boom, the boom collapsed.
And then it collapsed, right,
so, any similarities to that period, like 95, 94?
Right. I guess the scenario, the picture, if you will look at it from afar, it looks like they're similar because it was still a boom then. But I think today, after 20 years, the practitioners, even the banking industry is providing all these loans. They have already made safeguards of how to work this out.
Not overselling, not overcommitting. So it's being managed well, no?
Right. And with the good thing about our economy is that we have a sustainable GDP growth, so which provides a lot of opportunities for us to work on. We are creating a lot of jobs, so that means there's a lot of opportunities that the investors are looking at the Philippines. In fact, with all of our credit ratings now, and we have improved on that, we have been relegated to the status of being an investment hotspot for a lot of investors. So I think the scenarios or the underlying tones of our economy has presented a different case than how it was 20 years ago.
So we are a bit safer this time.
Safer this time.
Now tell me, where are, for agents that you manage, the talent that you manage and develop, no? Where lie the opportunities, and how exactly do you come in helping them to achieve those growth opportunities or progress opportunities?
Well, the good thing about now is that unlike before, there was no real selling structure And maybe because then it was just really more in the Tagalog version, sikuhan selling. You know, like, I like you now, you can sell na.
Sikuhan selling.
Yeah, that's how it was then. But now it's more professional, and you present all the facts about the property, and it's more educated and it's more aligned. In fact, the difference now when we're teaching sellers how to sell, it's position all the properties as an investment. It's an investment property.
Tell me a bit more about that. How exactly does one do it?
Well, we're targeting the market. If you are a new family and you want to buy a property, you invest on this property because eventually you look at the future.
So
if you
these are residentials or the ones that are serving the BPO industry?
Well, primarily residential. So you can either be...
What I meant is homes compared to condominiums.
Oh, all right. The condominiums are actually positioned as either you can flip it, you can buy it, and then you can have it rented out. The reselling part that Jim was talking about, these are more palatable for them. For the housing, it's basically for the emptiness, the new family or the beginning families. A lot of Filipinos' mindsets are still into the house and lot. Mostly we cater for those. That's why 3 of our major brands are into horizontal development.
Right.
But of course, there is this growing market who are the ones who are in the Manila. They want the house closer to their offices. And you cannot buy a lot of house and lots here in Manila anymore. So you concentrate on
I think it's adapting to the demographics of the country's population.
It's always what the customers' needs are. So that's how we're trying to position things.
So good for you. So you're in the right industry, and there's growth, and you are also using your best talents for yourself.
I believe so.
Where do you stay? Do you use a condominium or a house and lot?
Oh, I'm actually, right now I'm into a condominium, but my real hope, I'm trying to buy actually a house and lot now because I really wanted the space.
You're a Filipino, as you mentioned.
I am. That's why the mentality is still there. I want to have a piece of land.
I want lupa.
Right, the lupa is there.
And what does the future hold for your company compared to the others that are growing so rapidly? What are your growth strategies? What's the distant future for Vista Land?
Vista Land is actually, like I said, it was known before as a housing developer. But there are directions now to go real estate, so which means it covers other properties, offices, commercials, and.
I mean, are you like jacking up your own status in terms of quality, or are you going to go?
Oh no, we are very indeed after quality as well, because it's the reputation when people buy a certain property and it fails in terms of its quality, then reputation is done.
Well, Ivy, thank you very much for coming up here and sharing insights on the Philippines property boom. It's a good thing.
Thank you.
And of course, the company you are with is huge. It's humongous, and you are out in 31 cities. I didn't even know there were 31 cities now. So is there anything you want to tell your people, foreign investors who want to buy land? Do you want to invite them to come and really just go for Vista rather than go for the non-Vista?
Of course.
So that's the moment. And on
all right. Okay, so for those who are interested to buy properties, please visit us in Vista Land. Our home office is at Worldwide Corporate Center at Shaw Boulevard, Mandaluyong City. Or you can just Google us at vistaland.com.ph.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also,
for being on Expert Insights.
My pleasure.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Ivy Villanueva from Vista Land, the Learning Director, and she is also gung-ho for the Philippines property boom. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Thank you for watching Expert Insights. I hope that was good for you. Next week on Expert Insights, we also have another Scottish person, Scott Middleton, and his companion, John. I forget his last name. And we'll be talking about technical training. So have a great weekend. I'll see you next week.